Hey everybody, welcome back to your favorite Gundam podcast, Colony Drop. My name is Isaac.
And my name is Brian, and this is a podcast where we talk about anything and everything related to the Mobile Suit Gundam franchise. From the anime, to the movies, to the music, to the manga, to the model kits, you name it, we do it all. What are we talking about today, Isaac?
Today is a very special, musical, melodious, symphonious episode. We're talking about our favorite Gundam songs. Gundam openings, maybe only, but definitely our top 5.
Top 5 Gundam openings. This is probably like a contentious topic amongst the fandom, I would imagine, Isaac, depending on when you started watching Gundam, what your favorite series is. I feel like there's a lot of factors here.
Yeah, definitely. You took the words out of my mouth. There's so many factors going on here. On the one hand, almost all the songs are really Japanese, right? So they got their own unique sound to them. It's strictly Japanese. And then at the same time, you can definitely tell what time period a lot of them were made in. And it's just, I don't know, you have your favorites, right? Because how much you like the series actually play into how much you like the music? You know, it's there's a lot going on.
Yeah, absolutely. So I guess let's start off with some parameters here. Okay. So what makes a good opening to you, Isaac? Like, what did you think about when you made this list?
Okay, I was thinking about the songs that have stuck with me over the years, possibly almost decades now, of being a Gundam fan, and just what kind of got me pumped, you know, hyped for like the episode, what was coming up next. You know, maybe I was going in blind and like I hear this song and I'm like, oh yeah, this is gonna be an awesome episode. I wonder what's gonna happen this time. So yeah, I picked songs that had like a lot of emotion in them, or at least some good catchy energy.
I think I pretty much agree with that. To make my list of top 5, one, the opening needed to like make me want to watch the show. Like you said, it needs to get you pumped to like watch this next half hour of whatever series it is. And so generally I think it has to have some energy to it, but not always. But like if it's like a really slow opening, that usually doesn't do it for me. Yeah. I don't know how you feel about that. I feel like it needs to be upbeat somewhat.
I completely agree, because let's be honest, listeners, there's some bad Gundam music out there, right? Intros, outros, whatever. There is some bad. I don't know who composed it, who gave it the rubber stamp, but man, that must have been like, I don't know, a producer's nephew or niece that got like the go ahead, like, yeah, sure, we'll put your song in the end credits for like half the season's episodes.
Yeah.
And then you hear it and you're like, oh no, fast forward. Next episode.
Yeah, agree. And then another thing is, to me, it needs to be super memorable. So if I hear it now, I need to be able to like place exactly what show that song is from. Like there's a lot of songs that I like, but for this exercise, I told my wife what we were talking about tonight, and she's like, oh, if I play the song for you, can you name the show it was from? And I was like, probably.
Wow.
And I got most of them right. Thankfully, she chose a lot of like famous ones, but there were some where I was like, I like that song, but I don't actually remember exactly what series it's from. And so then that made making this list a little bit easier, because I was like, if I couldn't name it right away, then I'm cutting it from the list.
Pretty much, yeah. But well, I think your wife just gave us a great idea for like an episode, like, I don't know, the musical game show episode or something.
Yeah, as we were playing it, I was like, This is a great idea. We should totally do that.
What series is that?
And then some other criteria I had was it has to match the tone of the show in some way. Like I feel like there are some where maybe it was just a single from like a really popular artist. Uh-huh. And I don't know. That doesn't really do it for me.
That's a good point, actually. I wonder how much of that was a factor back when these seasons came out, because some of these shows are like, they were from before I was born.
Sure.
So I have no idea if this musical artist at the time was an up-and-comer in Japan, or, something like that. Maybe like the mother company like made an advertising deal or something with Sunrise. I don't know. So, also big disclaimer to our listeners. Brian and I are not fluent in Japanese, so I don't think the meaning of the lyrics was a large factor in our choices. I mean, we're lucky that a lot of Japanese songs, and well, I guess maybe in Japanese culture in general, they borrow English words. So like we'll hear some English in a lot of the songs, but yeah, the rest of it was all indecipherable to me for a lot of the parts. But I was like, yeah, I know that word or phonetic sounding phrase at the beginning of this song, whatever it means.
I 100% agree with that. We totally don't know Japanese. We're definitely going more by feel, right, Isaac? Like,
Yeah.
does this feel right to us?
What song did you hear that hooked you when you were as a fan? Maybe when you first saw the series, a movie, whatever.
And I don't know if you consider this, but there is like an opening video, that goes with the song. Did you take that into account at all?
I kind of half did, half didn't, because in a way I kind of wanted to isolate it. I wanted just the song to sort of stand on its own. And some of these songs on my list, like, I'll just listen to, while driving or at the gym or just, feel like listening to them. But no, I try to keep it separate because oftentimes an opening, just the visuals will get you really pumped or remind you about like, how awesome this one scene is or something that happened in the last episode or something that hasn't happened yet. So yeah, I kept it separate.
Good for you. I tried to, but I felt like
you see in your mind.
Yeah, well, I felt like some of the best ones were like seamlessly flowed together, and I couldn't separate the two. So if the opening video was bad, it didn't hurt the song, but if the opening video was good, it may have helped it on my list. So that's the last thing I'll say. So
yeah, that's true.
All right, Isaac, should I go first? Or you want to go first?
You can go first, actually. For our listeners, I believe we have a top 5 list, but there may or may not be some honorable mentions.
Yeah, my honorable mention list is pretty long. I'm going to have to cut it down for sure.
Yikes. Brian, for our listeners, is your list once again in list of boring to awesome?
Yeah, I'm going to go from like number 5 up to number 1.
Okay, I will match you.
I do want to say one thing to listeners is that Isaac and I don't typically talk about music, so I have no idea what Isaac's music taste is. So this will be interesting. I have no idea if we're going to align. I know we're going to align on at least one of these, but the rest I have no idea.
Yeah. I would be surprised if Brian doesn't know what songs I'm going to pick, or at least, half of them. I'd say Brian could hit half of these on the head and say, of course he'd pick that song.
Yeah, that's probably true.
Yeah.
All right. Shall I start with number 5?
Do it, Brian. Maybe not necessarily boring, but less awesome. Number 5.
Okay, number 5 on my list is Invoke by TM Revolution, which is the first opening for Gundam Seed from 2002.
Ooh.
This opening I think is great because the opening notes are so iconic. Like the little bird flies by, it goes dun dun dun, and then it goes quiet, and then the missiles all hit the Strike Gundam, and it picks up. It gets really fast all of a sudden, and then we start going into the characters. It slows down a little bit, and then it ramps back up to another climax, and we see like the battle starting, and all the different Seed Gundams start blowing up the Zaft suits, and I just thought it was perfect for the time. Like electronic music started getting really popular, like more mainstream in the early 2000s, and like this song really, I feel like, took advantage of that, and it was perfect for the series. It was like new. Seed was supposed to be this like a soft reboot of the Universal Century, and I felt like this was like a perfect way to like latch on to the popular music of the time and kind of get you hooked when you turned it on. It even like slows down at the end as the Strike Gundam starts to launch. So it's sort of like, I don't know, I feel like it was emphasizing like the weight that was on Kira's shoulders. But yeah, Seed opening number 1, Invoke is my number 5.
Oh, that's so. What I like about it is got like such a cool little like ramp up within the first, I don't know, 15 seconds, something like that, right? Like you mentioned the missiles and all that, and then it all speeds up and launches. Yep. But very catchy, like
Yep.
A lot of the beat to it, I guess, the composition of it, that could sound like a pop song today, right? Or like trance, EDM, something like that, right? It's not too far off what we hear now.
Yeah, I agree. There's a lot that are probably going to be on our list that probably are old sounding today. But I agree. Yeah. This would hold up better than, I don't want to use better because the old songs are still good, but this still sounds a bit modern, even today.
Yeah, good choice. I mean, Gundam Seed, a lot of energetic songs, I'll say that.
yeah, for sure. And I will say one thing about my top 5. There's no repeats from the same series.
Ooh.
I sort of did that on purpose, but I wouldn't fault It's kind of hard to pick one from Gundam Seed, so I
Huh.
wouldn't. There's some other good ones in there too.
I almost went the opposite
those.
direction.
Oh yeah, I
Yeah.
can see you doing that for sure.
Yeah. Okay. Number 5 for me is a very special song because in a lot of ways it was my first Gundam song. This is The Winner from Mobile Suit Gundam 083 Stardust Memory by Miki Matsuraba, the late Miki Matsuraba, who sadly passed away in 2004. But yeah, this is that cool song in the first half of 0083 season where they talk about where it starts off with a little kind of piano sounding noise and you see Ko Araki running and like the dates changing from 0079 to climbing up to 0083 in the distance, and then the title flashes on the screen.
Yep.
So it's kind of a mellow but catchy intro song I like.
Yeah, that's a classic right there.
Yeah, exactly.
I have a hard time choosing between The Winner and Men of Destiny for best 0083 song.
I mean, they're pretty close. This one does, you can kind of hear a bit of its age, but it's I don't know. The saxophone really dates it. But that said, it was a pretty cool song, I thought. You're like, oh, okay, wow, this show really was from the 80s. But
It was
yeah,
actually from the 90s. But,
oh, well, it was in production in the 80s. There you go. They kept that saxophone.
But you know what, listeners? There's nothing wrong with the saxophone.
There isn't, Brian.
No, there is nothing.
I think
nothing
it's
wrong.
dead. I think it's no offense to all our saxophone players that are listening now, but where has it shown up recently? I can't pinpoint it.
Well, I think there was some jazz in like Gundam Thunderbolt.
Maybe.
You know what? If you're out there playing the sax, you keep doing you.
Yeah. Comment below the links to all your 2021 jazz saxophone playlists. So that's my number 5. What's your number 4, Brian?
My number 4 is Towards the Aqueous Star with Love by Hiroko Moriguchi, which is the second opening to Zeta Gundam from 1986, Isaac.
Wow.
So
I mean, yeah.
So this opening is pretty unique in that the show starts and there's no music for like a good, 5-7 seconds when the missiles hit, like I think the Gundam Mark II. It kind of lets the animation breathe a bit before kicking in, which is unusual. And I think just something in general for all of the openings for the series in the 80s and the early 90s, I feel like they all sound like the singers could be singing in space. That's probably something stupid to say. Like, I'm not a music person at all, so I'm probably going to use like the wrong music terminology throughout this entire episode.
Mm-hmm.
But I just feel like the way it was recorded makes it sound more spacey, or more like ethereal or like airy. So that's how I feel about this song. Like, it kicks in and it's very not like soothing, but it's like emotional, and Camille's walking around, and then it gets a bit sinister as like Quattro appears and he like pulls down his glasses, and you're like, oh, it's Char. Like, what's
Who
he
could
thinking?
that be?
Who could it possibly be under those black glasses? But then the song starts to pick up, and like Camille launches the Zeta Gundam. Like he pushes the levers, and it transforms and it flies away, and the song kind of hits its first like climax, and then it slows down a little bit again, and we see all the characters. It gets a little mysterious. You see Quattro and Camille. And then we see Paptimus all of a sudden, who's like, the big mystery guy of the series. And then it starts to shift. It gets a little even more like emotional as like 4 passes by with like this, space lights behind her. It's just very 80s. I don't know. I love it. It hits this like synth section at the end where the Zeta flies off and like lights in space emerge. Clearly like a big battle is happening. The song just like syncs really well with that. And this was actually voted in, I think, 2018 by like almost 2 million people, I think, voted for this as the best Gundam opening of all time.
Wow.
Yeah, I think it's a magazine, NHK. Yeah, it's a big publication or something over there in Japan. So, yeah, I was surprised to see that. But I know the Zeta openings have a big following. And it was really hard to choose one or the other, so I wouldn't fault you for liking the other one as well. But I think I like the second one more.
Interesting. Well, I think we can all agree that the outro is atrocious. That must be destroyed with fire.
Well, I was just going to get all the hate mail from the Zeta fans.
Probably. I feel like, you don't like that outro with Camille running? You don't like it? The beautiful star background.
They're gonna send some wave riders your way, Isaac.
Oh boy, please don't.
What's your number 4?
All right, my number 4 is. I remember the first time hearing it, or at least the most impactful time hearing it, is right after my man Patrick Zala fires Genesis. And then like it cuts right when the weapon fires, like you don't even see what it hits, like, and then the song plays. It's Realize in Mobile Suit Gundam Seed, their 4th opening and last opening of the series, sung by Nami Tamaki.
That's a great choice.
Yeah,
I almost put Realize on here instead of Invoke.
the one downside I think is like when you hear this song, because of the intro, you can't help but think of like a giant face of like Lacus's giant face, like in front of like the earth or something, because that's how this intro opening starts, and like you're like, oh boy, you're like, not you again, Lacus. Show Patrick Zala or show Zaft or something. Can I see Genesis? But anyways,
I did really like that about the Seed openings, is they did introduce them, at least 1 or 2 of them, in the show, I think before they started using them like as the opening, if I remember right. So I thought that was pretty neat.
yeah. But I mean, I always thought it was a pretty cool song. You know, it's got a bit of a bang to it. The vocals when they start off, and you're like, oh boy, this really is a final stretch of the journey.
Yeah. One thing about the Seed openings too, for whatever reason, all of the Seed openings were obsessed with showing the characters like naked. Do you remember this?
Not completely. Really?
Yeah, they were naked, but you know, it wasn't. They didn't show like it wasn't censored, but it was like opaque,
Yeah,
right? So they were
ethereal
naked,
or something,
yeah,
right? Yeah.
But they and the fans of Seed are gonna know what I'm talking about. So the women characters, obviously it's anime, right? So they have like enormous breasts, and they just had like the most well animated like boob bounces in these in these openings, like for no real reason, right? Like I wouldn't say Seed is like a fan servicey show. But for whatever reason, the openings, they put a lot of effort into those bounces.
Well, they are in zero gravity. So. They're going into Seed mode. There's 2 Ds in Seed. That'll be our side story, Brian.
CDD.
Seed double D.
Seed double D. That probably already exists.
Twice the plant. Oh boy. Boy, this episode got bad fast.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to check that age restriction.
We're back at the high school playground. Wait, there's no playground in high school. What the hell am I saying? We're back at the lunch table.
The water cooler. Yeah.
High school water cooler. we broke into the teacher's lounge. Anyways, so yes, that is my choice for number 4. What is your number 3, Brian?
My number 3 is probably on your list at some point. My number 3 is Men of Destiny by Mio, which is Gundam 083's second opening from 1992.
Man, yeah.
I love this song because it just screams epic space opera to me. It takes us on a journey similar to the first opening. You know, it goes through the years 0079 through 0083, which is neat. But then it like starts to speed up to show the clash between the characters, and the music is kind of like clashing too. I don't know how to describe music. I don't know how to read music or talk about it, but I would describe this song as it has a constant like push and pull between the more like melodic parts and then like the beats, and it hits like a high note as the GP1 and the GM customs take off. But then it, you know, all of a sudden we see the GPO3, and then the Laz fleet comes and it's all superimposing, and then we start flashing between all the different characters as the song is just firing on all cylinders with the push and the pull again. You got Shima, Gato, and the Noisiel, the Dendrobium. I think at one point Ko even screams, or like he pushes a lever, and like, you know, the song gets all high and like he screams, and then it ends, of course, with Mio saying you know, Men of Destiny, or I can't say it, but she says Men of Destiny at the end as Ko floats in front of the Earth. I really like this song. I knew from the get-go this would be my top 5 for sure. I do think it's hard again to choose between this and the winner, so I wouldn't fault anyone for swapping them. Some trivia: Mio also recorded an English version of this song, but she changed the name. It's called Oblivion. So if you want to hear the English version sung by the original singer, just search for Oblivion instead of Men of Destiny, which is pretty cool. Not many artists do that, right?
Yeah, and it's like this song has such a punch when it starts, like because it starts loud. It's very 80s rock, but there's some synth in there too. But yeah, her English version of it's awesome.
Yeah, yeah. I don't know. I just love the 80s. I was born in the 80s, so I guess I'm destined to love it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I love that 80s rock.
You know what?
This hits it.
Is this going to be one of your choices for our karaoke episode?
It'll have to be, I think.
Yeah, it's great. That's going to be on my list.
Yeah, we'll do like a fundraiser where we
Probably.
embarrass ourselves by singing
Yeah.
Gundam karaoke. I don't know what we'll donate to, but
Well, we're raising money for experimental humanoid robot weapons for
Like
the
orphan-
U.S. military.
orphans who want to build Gunpla or something.
Orphans who want to build Gunpla. What? we
You can you cheer them up by sending them Gunpla,
we have to call up every group home in California. We're like, hi, you don't know who we are. Are there children there that like models? Specifically Japanese robots.
Do you have any orphans that really
Yeah.
love the the 1970s and 80s real robot genre show called Mobile Suit Gundam? Could you patch them through for me if you,
She's like,
if you do?
all right, kid, here's how this works. We're going to mail you some stuff. Give us a list of mobile suits you want, and then we'll take care of the rest. You're probably going to need glue, too, or something.
Get your mom to help you. Oh,
Yeah.
wait.
Oh, Brian. Oh,
I'm going to get a lot of hate mail for that one.
probably. You think this is funny? If Batman was here, he wouldn't think this is funny.
We're going to get that one commenter who's like, I was an orphan who liked Gundam, and
Yeah,
that was
he's like,
offensive.
Ever since I found my Leo at my group home,
That guy
been-
must hate us so much.
I've been devoted to... All right. Oh, boy.
All right. What's your number 3, Isaac?
My number 3, also from Gundam Seed, is Believe, which was the opening song for, I guess, about a quarter of Gundam Seed. It's also by Nami Tamaki. This one's got that cool kind of intro. I don't know how to describe it except making that noise. But like it was really fast paced and you're like, oh, time for battle. So yeah, this one was always a catchy little favorite of mine, and I'm like, yeah, it is time for Gundam Seed.
I think Seed had great openings
Yep.
in general. I wouldn't fault anyone for putting any of them in their top 5.
Yeah.
That was probably one of Gundam Seed's biggest strengths. I remember when those openings came out, I feel like even the whole fandom was like, wow, these are all really good.
Yeah, you're like, oh, I'm not a big fan of the plot, but man, this is a great song that started an episode of Gundam Seed.
I think that problem was maybe more present in Seed Destiny, where I think they did use...
Oh, God.
Some of the same singers did come back for Seed Destiny, but the plot obviously maybe not quite as
The
strong.
magic wasn't there anymore. It was just a hot mess.
Shin sucked all the magic out of that show.
Yeah, and Gilbert Durandal was not a match for a good man, Patrick Zala and Azrael. But
Yeah.
moving right along, Brian, what is your number 2 on the list?
Oh, Isaac, you're going to hate this one.
Oh no, really? Oh God. Is it from Gundam Wing? My spider sense is saying this is from Gundam Wing.
My number 2 is called Flying in the Sky by Hitofumi Ushima, which was G Gundam's first opening from
Oh my
1994. Do you remember this, Isaac?
Yeah. Shining Gundam. And you just hear me reach for the remote and find something else.
That's the one. That is the one. So I love this because it opens big right away with the Gundams literally flying in the sky, and the singer just goes flying the sky, and to me it sounds like he just skips the in. Like the song is called Flying in the Sky, but I literally think he just says flying the sky. So he goes flying the sky, and the 5 Gundams take off, our 5 hero protagonist Gundams. And it just immediately fits the mood of the show. The show is not somber. It's not sad. So right away, this show is going to be full of energy. And then the singer hits you with Shining Finger. And so you know that right away that this show is off the wall. Because you're just like, what the heck is a shining finger? Like, is that something you look up on like Urban Dictionary? Or like, what the heck is a shining finger? The Shining Gundam lands on this like beam ring that's being assembled around the Earth. And like the beat to the song kind of build to like match as the beam ring is being fired up and all the sections are connecting. So I thought that was great. But then it does like slow down right after that to match like this shot of Domon who's sitting in like the frozen tundra somewhere with like his sword, and he's walking along to kind of reflect a bit on the martial arts aspect of the show. And and then we get some background with Kyoji and Master Asia, and then it builds back up again with all the different suits that you're gonna see through the show, like the Master Gundam, and then it ends on like a big shot of the Devil Gundam, just with pieces everywhere. You just know some stuff's gonna go down in this show, and it hits you with one last like shining finger. And so I don't know, this opening has a lot of energy, which again is a thing that I need in my like top openings, and it's super memorable, right? Because if you think of G Gundam, if you hear this song, you're gonna be like, okay, yeah, that's clearly G Gundam, right? Like Shining Finger, that's unmistakably G Gundam.
Yeah, actually, it's a memorable song. I mean, once you hear it once, I don't think you'll forget it. Right? Yeah. It really hits you, but it's kind of starts off with like a little bit of a kind of trumpet fanfare a bit, and then it jumps into it.
Yeah,
right?
It does.
Okay, yeah, I know exactly which one.
This one was so good that I felt like the second opening isn't bad, but I felt like it wasn't as memorable compared to the first opening. How do you feel about that in general, Isaac? When there's like a great opening and then the next one is like not so good, or not, it's like not as good. I'm always disappointed. I don't know.
I completely agree with you. Sometimes I wish they didn't make a new opening. Yeah. Like you should have just kept the song. Maybe update the visuals, but there was no need to get like the B team to make a second opening, and like for the rest of the season I can't really enjoy the opening song anymore.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure part of it is they want to sell more CDs or something, right?
I guess, or I don't know. Who knows how the business deals work in Japan, right? They have like some mega corporations over there that maybe they own this television network, so Sunrise kind of had a, all right, fine, we'll put that band at the second opening, whatever. just advertise our models in the commercial breaks. So,
All right, Isaac, what's your number 2?
All right, my number 2 is a very special song. I felt like it had a really good epic, for a synthesizer at least, keyboard, a really epic kind of hook that pulls you in, and it was great for the last half of this series, especially with everything that happened. It's Resolution from Gundam X by Romantic Mode, who also did the first opening in Gundam X Dreams. But I always thought Resolution was the superior song for After War Gundam X.
I love both Gundam X openings. They're going to be on my honorable mention list for sure. Ooh. So those are great openings. I feel like they're not quite as good as the 083 openings, but I greatly enjoy them.
Yeah, they, I don't know, this one had a good beat to it. It was pretty mellow, compared to a lot of the more epic Gundam songs, but overall, whenever I heard it, I thought it was pretty cool. I vaguely remember the lyrics. It was a lot about like love and peace or something like that. Since Gundam ultimately is an anti-war show, at least most of the time. But yeah, Resolution will always be on my list because I don't know. It's on like my driving music list.
Got it. Yeah, I would guess that Gundam X is probably one of the least watched Gundam series.
Oh yeah, it's not even like I wouldn't say it's neglected because you have to know about something to neglect it. It's forgotten more or less. Maybe people have heard of it in passing. They're aware that it exists, but they haven't seen it. At least V Gundam's part of like the UC continuity. But yeah, Gundam X. We'll be opening a lot of people's eyes and ears, I guess, or mainly just ears when we finally talk about our Gundam X. Yeah.
So because of that, if you've never listened to the openings for Gundam X, I would highly recommend that you go check out Dreams and Resolution by Romantic Mode because they are excellent. I think they are much better than some of the openings that come out today.
Yeah, I think they blow Gundam Wing openings out of the water.
Wow.
Shots fired.
Yeah. Shots fired, yeah.
I'm going to get a lot of hate comments from the boy band fans. Like, how dare you say that about Hero? All right, Brian.
Well, you're going to hate my number 1 pick then.
Oh, God.
This is going to be a surprise pick. My number 1 is actually Rhythm Emotion by 2Mix for Gundam Wing. It's the second opening from 1995, and I had no choice but to give it to this because for the last, like Isaac, I do rely on some Gundam playlists now and then. Like when I'm working, I just need songs in the background or something, and Gundam Wing is not like my favorite show. It's not even in the top 5. But this opening, I think, is perfect. Again, this is one that really syncs up with the opening movie. So maybe if you take away the opening movie, maybe it's not quite as great. But the way the song opens, it's right when the Gundam Vernier lights, they all descend upon Earth. And that Earth circle then turns into the Zero system booting up with the beeps. And Hero is looking down in the cockpit, which is like the perfect way to capture Hero without actually saying anything, right? I mean, people don't speak in openings generally. And then the song, ramps up and it builds up until the Wing Zero's eyes light up and it takes off. And then we see all the pilots and the song kind of guides us through and then speeds up and pauses in all the right spots as the action is happening. So I don't know. I think it's flawless. I always kept coming back to that one on the playlist. I think I hit replay on that one the most, so that had to be my number one, which is not something that I would have expected 6 months ago. So.
Wow. I mean, I never would have guessed the Gundam Wing would be anywhere on your list. But here we are.
Some openings are just effective, man,
I guess so. Hey, the taste is all subjective, right? You like it, you like it.
What is your number one, Isaac?
My number one is perhaps the most pumpiest Gundam song I know, because the way it kicks off, you listen to it in your car, you just want to start banging your head, you want to attack the Federation, drop a colony, Gato lead the way. My number one is Men of Destiny from 0083.
I knew it.
It was my choice, yeah. Down. Do-no-no-no-no-no.
I'm telling you, man, 80s space opera. It's fantastic.
Soon we'll know the power of destiny.
You are clearly singing the English version.
Yeah, exactly. Well, God help me if I have to sing the Japanese for a karaoke episode.
Yeah, I hope that for the... Well, yeah, that might be difficult. There's probably not very many English versions of these songs.
That's true, but I don't know. We'll stumble along and we'll inform our Japanese listeners that we have good intentions. We just have no grasp of the language.
Yeah, by the way, if we butchered any of these people's names, we profusely apologize. Did not mean to. We're just dumb Americans trying to like your Japanese show.
Our two listeners in Tokyo and Hokkaido are like, it's Mayo, not Mio.
Probably. They're like, that's it. That's the last straw.
Mio's a drink you put in your water.
Stupid Americans.
Yeah.
I knew it. I knew Men of Destiny would be top 3 for sure.
It has to, because 0083 was my intro to Gundam, so the music is going to have a lot more weight with me, the story, even Nina, as much hate as Nina gets, and even Ko, right? Yeah. But man, 0083, it's always going to be a special little side story.
So yeah, I mean, I guess looking back, were you surprised at your list after you put it on paper?
A little bit. I don't know. I knew Seed and 0083 were pretty strong in terms of music I liked, but I don't know. I thought, well, maybe I could put White Reflection, and then I was like, no. And then I was like, well, anything from the original series? And I was like, nope. I was like, Build Fighters Try? And I was like, none of those songs really stuck on. So I was like, you know what? I really have to go with what I like. Well, what do I actually pull up to listen to? And that's how I made my list.
Yes, because especially creating a top 5, there's so many Gundam series, right?
Yeah.
I don't know how many openings there are, but there's got to be at least somewhere between 50 and 80.
Pretty much, yeah.
Trying to narrow that to 5 is really difficult. So I think that's where do I immediately recognize this song? Does it immediately have weight to me? I think that's where that comes in.
While we're on the topic of music, Brian, and before we get to your honorable mentions, sorry, listeners, I didn't put together honorable mentions. Okay. Once again, Brian, you are a producer of the Gundam movie, which was greenlit to have a Titanic budget. Who are you going to approach? What artist, band, whatever, are you going to approach for the song?
Wow, that is a hard question.
I'm putting you on the spot, and this is clearly something you might want to research, of course, if you had more time. But just from the seat of your pants, I'll give you a few seconds. Who do you think could pull off a good Gundam song? Would it be slow? Would you want something poppy? Would you want a band? I don't know. What do you think?
Well, they're probably going to go for poppy. I would imagine. Are you thinking like it would be an original song, or is this a redo of the original opening for the 79 series, like Fly Gundam?
I see this as like an original song. Either they'd play it during the credits, or they'd somehow tie it into like an opening of some kind.
Got it.
Maybe as like a kind of a wink or something to,
Yeah.
to fans, or just to audience members clearly know this is an anime type real live action movie.
Yeah. Oh man, I don't know. I think okay. I have two. Well, two things. One, I do think that they would redo Fly Gundam, but probably wouldn't play it during the movie. I think they would play a cover during the credits. Much like, I forget which Spider-Man movie it was, but Michael Bublé covered the Spider-Man song. Spider-Man.
That might have been
and that was
3.
great. It was great. But it played during the credits of something. Maybe it wasn't in the credits of Spider-Man, but it was on some like movie soundtrack compilation thing. So okay, maybe this is a bad idea. I don't know. You tell me. I would choose Adele, hoping to get something like Men of Destiny out of her.
Wow. Oh man, that's a great choice. And she has like the vocals and the range and the power to get it done, right?
Yeah. Sign me up,
Man.
Adele. Take me for a ride.
Oh, I don't think I can beat that. Man. My choice was like Billie Eilish, because I was thinking, okay, she's doing the new James Bond song, which is a pretty good song. It's like very melodic and, kind of emotional. But man, wow. You got me beat. I'd prefer Adele to do it now.
That's funny you say that. The thing that made me think of Adele was Skyfall.
Yeah.
The song she did for James Bond.
She could do such a good Gundam song like that. Can you imagine like a Gundam opening like that's kind of Bond style? That'd be pretty awesome.
That would be great.
Yeah.
But they could do a duet,
Oh wow. Yeah. Well, one's in a Federation uniform, one's in a Xeon uniform.
Isaac, I don't know. I gotta say, why are we not in charge of the Gundam movie?
Who knows? Could it be our lack of power and influence in the entertainment industry?
could be our utter lack of power and influence in really anything to do in real life.
There you go. But you know what? We'll do our duty and promote the heck out of it for no compensation.
Yeah, I know, right?
Promoting it blind. Well, Brian, why don't you tell us about your honorable mentions list?
All right, so my honorable mentions list is pretty long, but I'm just going to run through them real quick because these are some of the other ones I thought of where I was like, these are really good, but they didn't quite make top 5. Like, top 5 is pretty hard to get into, right? So I really like 2 of the Gundam Unicorn openings. One's Into the Sky, and one is I Am. And the Into the Sky one is the one that says, like, it really hits its stride when it says, like, only you can fly this new unicorn into the sky. I thought that was good. I Am, I think, is played when Ensign Riddy confronts Benager finally in like episode, I don't know, it's got to be at least episode 5 when he's in the Banshee, and it's just like a really intense fight, and that song plays. It's perfect. What was the third opening? Recede? Was that Believe?
I think it's Believe, yeah.
Believe, yeah. I had Believe on there too. Definitely had the winner. I had both Dreams and Resolution from Gundam X. I had Fly Gundam on here from 1979, even though it doesn't really hold up today, but I mean, come on, it's a classic. You gotta pay your respects. I liked 2 of the Iron Blooded Orphans openings. The first one, Raise Your Flag, was very Iron Blooded Orphans-y to me.
Man,
I felt a lot of the Iron Blooded Orphans openings really matched the show. So Raise Your Flag was good. So was Rage of Dust. I think that was either the 3rd or 4th one. I don't remember which one.
God, every time someone mentions Iron Blooded Orphans, I feel like rewatching it. Like, it's that good. It's
a great show.
Yeah, at the same time though, like, the show must go on. We have to watch other things.
Yeah, for sure. I've always liked Stand Up to the Victory, even though Victory Gundam was probably not widely liked. Another show that's probably not seen by many fans.
I'd say it's like right in front of Gundam X in terms of like, lack of awareness and people just not knowing, right?
Yeah.
People,
Yeah.
I mean, people have a vague idea of it and they have no idea of Gundam X. Gundam X is like the kid that's standing behind it. You don't see it. You're like, are those 2 kids in line? No, those kids are, no, somebody forgot about those kids. Like, oh, okay.
So sad.
Oh, there's one behind. I didn't see it. I thought it was one kid.
Oh, there you are, Garrett.
Garrett.
from Gundam Double X or Gundam X. Isn't that his name? Garrett Ran.
Yeah. Or sorry. Well, I'm used to the Japanese, so
Oh,
I was like
something.
Garodo.
Garodo. Yeah.
I was like Garodo.
And then a few more I'll mention is Just Communication from Gundam Wing was good. I'm gonna cheat here a little bit and mention Beyond the Time, because Beyond the Time is really from Charged Counterattack. It's not an opening Charged Counterattack, but it was used as an opening for one of the Origin episodes. So that's a bit of a cheat because it's kind of it's a cover of the original. But fantastic song.
We're not doing war songs right now, but that F91 song that they played twice, like once when Crossbone Vanguard like finally takes control of the colony, and then again at the credits. I forgot what it's called. I didn't write it down because I'm just thinking of it right now. Not a great song. Way too soft, right? That's like a song I guess in the 80s you'd hear at like the cafe, or something, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Interesting. I think there's actually a fairly decent following for that song.
I bet there is.
I'm sure they're gonna send some bugs your way,
oh, God.
as well as the Wave Riders, Isaac.
Well, I'm sure I'll have an easier time of defeating them as the Federation and F91 did. So those things are just useless against mobile suits.
Just spin your wrists.
Yeah, there you go, spinnerini.
And the last one I'll mention is the first opening to Zeta Gundam, which is also really good, which is called Zeta Transcending Times by Mami Oyukawa. I probably butchered that, but this one was left off the U.S. release because it uses the melody of a Neil Sedaka song called Better Days Are Coming, and I guess Sunrise couldn't get the rights to show it over here on our DVD release, so that's kind of a bummer.
Oh, okay. I thought you were about to say they stole the song, and then they knew they could get away with it in Japan, but they knew they couldn't really do it in the United States.
Well, yeah, I have no idea if that's how they originally did it, but at least for the DVD release here, they definitely had to get some sort of rights, and it doesn't sound like either they couldn't do it or they didn't want to, or maybe it was too expensive. I don't know, but
we'll pay for the rights, but only in our country. We'll play that in the United States.
Yep. That about wraps up our list. That was a good question about the movie, Isaac. I think I want to hear what the listeners have to say.
Yeah.
Listeners, if you're the producer, who would you go get to do an original song for the Gundam live action movie?
Yeah, it can be a solo artist. It could be a band. Any time period, really. Just your choice. Maybe they were a band from the 2000s. Maybe they're a current musical artist. Whoever, whatever.
Yeah, and make sure, and then please, please leave us your top 5 list of Gundam openings. We want to know what where your taste is at. Which ones do you like? Which ones do you hate? Did Isaac offend you with any of his comments about the F91 ending song, or what was the other one you didn't like?
The
Zeta
movie.
The Zeta ending.
Oh God, the little jazz and Camille running. It's terrible. Come on.
I think in general Isaac's pretty pumped about the openings, but when we do an ending episode, his list is just going to be the top 5 worst endings instead of best endings.
Why your outros are trash by Isaac.
All right, everybody. That's it for us. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. You can find us on Twitter and on Instagram, both at Colony Dropcast, or on YouTube. You can also leave us a comment.
Bye. Take care now.